Let's spend a little bit of time and talk about what today is. I can't believe this is real, but 29 years ago today was one of my sleeper favorite In Your House episodes of all time. It was In Your House Mind Games, live on pay-per-view from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this show is really mostly notable for two things. The main event, which was an unbelievable match between Shawn Michaels and Mankind. I think it might even be on the Mount Rushmore of matches that didn't have a clean finish. It was a DQ finish, but it showed a different side of the boyhood dream coming true. It showed a different side of the white meat babyface Shawn Michaels. He had to up his game, and he had to be a little more violent, a little more aggressive. And it was one of Mankind's real standout moments for Mick Foley in the WWE. Let's not forget, he's fresh off of an incredible feud with The Undertaker. He's going to pick it up the following month with the Buried Alive match. But who comes in and in their first match with The Undertaker beats him, and then later has Paul Bearer leave The Undertaker and come with him? So he comes with a ton of momentum off of that SummerSlam the month prior, where it was the Boiler Room Brawl and Paul turned. So now he's up, getting a title shot against Shawn Michaels. And I think this match is terrific. Mick Foley himself has said it's one of, if not his favorite match that he had. Now, I'm not saying it's his most famous match, but he's really proud of that performance. What did you think of that main event, and how do you think it stands up, with the test of time, if you will?
I think it'll stand up forever. Yeah, I mean, you got two of the greatest of all time. Look at what Shawn Michaels did in his career, the matches he had. He had them great, incredible matches with Bret Hart. He had incredible matches with The Undertaker. He had incredible matches with Mankind. He had incredible matches with everybody he stepped in the ring with. And think about how different those guys are. I mean, Shawn's not a huge guy, and he had great matches with The Undertaker. He had good matches with Vader. Wish he'd have got Vader several years before that and got the old Vader. They would have made a ton of money. But Mankind was the same. I mean, Mick was unbelievable as a worker out there. The stuff he would put together and the stuff that he could do out there. I mean, I just think you got two guys that were all-time greats, and you got them at the right time in their careers and put them out there, and magic happened.
I love that main event. I challenge everybody to go check it out. It's a little thing, but one of my favorite things from the match, and I know everybody talks about the crossbody that was supposed to be a callback to the Vader match that was supposed to look like a botch, but that was by design. They also talk about the incredible table bump that Mankind took. We saw some of the aftermath here on the playback on YouTube just a moment ago. But the thing that stood out to me is when Shawn peeled back the pads around the ring, those mats around the ring, and then he covered Mankind up with it and just jumped up and down on it. It was so silly, so off the cuff. It just felt like, wait a minute, this is not babyface stuff. This is a hardened edge. I really appreciate this match. I hope that people will go check it out. But the thing that's maybe most notable about this is not just the incredible main event, but something that technically didn't even air on the pay-per-view. It was on the pre-show. They used to call it the free-for-all, and this is back before we all had DVRs. Back then, you had to get a newspaper or a TV guide, or you even had a channel that just showed you what's coming up on TV, and WWE would capitalize on that channel and show a match or two for free and really do a last-minute sell job to try to get you to order the pay-per-view. Well, you find yourself working what I believe would have been your first WWF pay-per-view. Is that right?
I think so, yes. Yes.
So it's your first time on a WWF pay-per-view. Technically, it's the pre-show, but whatever. Hey, we're taking these victories when we can get them when we're new in the company. And you're in there with Savio Vega in a Caribbean strap match. Have you worked a Caribbean strap match at that point before?
Not a Caribbean strap match. I'd worked a strap match before, which is, pretty basic type. There's only so much you can do. It's like a bull rope match. There's only so much you can do in that match. I remember Savio before, he goes, hey, listen to me. He goes, they really like to hear the belt crack on your back, so, hit me really hard. I'm like, you're wearing a jersey. You dick. He just started laughing because I'm out there with a bear shirt, just getting the hell beat out of me because I'm the heel. Because I'm gonna take for everyone I give him, I'm gonna take 10 back. And Savio's the best. I saw Savio the other day. He's working as an agent in AAA. I was incredibly lucky. Savio was my tryout match. Savio was my first angle. Savio was my first storyline. Savio was my first pay-per-view. Savio was everything. It was everything. He was. We called him the bumblebee because the bumblebees aren't supposed to fly. And he would get up on the top rope like he can't do that. And all of a sudden he'd fly. And you go like, he's a bumblebee. He's not supposed to be able to do that. He'd do those spin kicks. He was so freaking good. Savio was one of the best workers I've ever been in the ring with. He's also one of the best human beings on the planet. But he'd hit you with that freaking kick, and it looked like it took your head off, barely touch you. I mean, he was an incredible worker. It was so fun being out there with him. I loved every minute of it being out there with Savio. But no, I'd had strap matches before. He'd obviously had a lot more than me, but I'd had them before. But it's only so much you can do. You just get out there, and people want to hear you get beat up with the belt, which is not much fun, especially when you're the heel.
All right, I'm going to have some fun with this question. John, what's the difference between a strap match and a Caribbean strap match?
One has Savio Vega in it.
There you go. Okay.
That's the only difference. There's no difference to it whatsoever.
Hey, I do want to give a little love to Savio Vega because I don't know that a lot of people have put this together. But if you read Goldust's book, he gives a lot of credit for Savio Vega, where he said he didn't really get how to use this gimmick and interact with the crowd until he was working with Savio. And in the middle of a match, Savio started suggesting that the Goldust character do things that immediately resonated and got a reaction with the crowd. Goldust, to this day, gives a lot of credit to Savio Vega for making the real-life Dustin feel comfortable and find a niche of how to work that gimmick with the crowd. Not only that, but when Steve Austin is first in the company and trying to stand out and move up long before he's Stone Cold, he too gives a ton of credit to Savio Vega for being the guy to get him ready. He was already established in the eyes of WWE brass. Steve Austin was not. I don't think Savio Vega gets enough love and appreciation from fans that I know he gets from the boys.
He absolutely. There's no way. The boys love him. I mean, absolutely love him. He's just, for one, he's a good dude. I mean, he's just a good guy. Savio's funny. He's a funny guy to be around. I love being around him. Hey, motherfucker. He's the best. He's so fun to be, but he's also a terrific worker. I mean, he's a great worker. That's why they stuck all these guys with him. I mean, I'm so lucky I had him in my career. He helped me tremendously. Coming into WWE, you're overwhelmed by all of the TV. You're overwhelmed by the venues. You're overwhelmed by everything. I was out there with a guy who was an incredible pro in Savio Vega. Man, it was like putting on old slippers, man. It was so much fun to be out there with him. And he'd call stuff to you just in a calm way. Hey, let's try this or try that. While we're out there, it was just a pleasure to be out there with him. I mean, Savio is. I smile every time I see him. I love him so much.
Well, of course, the reason we're talking about this match is not even necessarily because it was a great match, but it was. It's not necessarily because we love Savio Vega, but we do. It was because there was a stunt planned on the pre-show, and this is in the infancy of the internet. But we start to get a little bit of momentum, and we didn't know this at the time, but about a year prior to this is when there became an unofficial but yet very official working relationship between WWE and ECW. And we started to see talent come back and forth and some checks go back and forth. And we don't know that as fans watching at home. But here we are in the home of ECW, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We know that ECW is going to be represented by the hardcore fans in the crowd, whether it's with their T-shirts or their signs. But there just happened to be 3 ECW talent sitting front and center. It's Sandman, it's Paul E. Dangerously, and of course, Tommy Dreamer. And at one point during this match, Sandman stands up and spits beer in Savio's face. And this becomes something that is shot, but you can tell it's done in a way where, hey, maybe we weren't supposed to see that. And even in some of the photos and highlights from this match that Silva was showing earlier with us on YouTube, you could see WWE officials chatting with those guys over the guardrail. So this is a planned stunt. We learned that after the fact. That day, when did you find out and what did you know and when did you know, John, that, wait a minute, what's happening now?
There are a lot of people that don't know that I knew. I've heard guys on podcasts, and I was told differently from Savio. So they told Savio about the stunt, but they didn't tell me. And so they told Savio, keep me from going over the rail, after the guys, because that was the natural instinct. You have somebody else from a different company that was invading your company that, you can't stand for that. And so they were worried that, hey, we're going to do it with Savio. But this was stupid. Conrad, I cannot tell you how stupid this was. And I'll explain to you in a second, but why it was stupid. I mean, this could have been a freaking disaster in front of 15,000 people. Savio had been told right before I walked out, Lanza pulls me aside. Jack Lanza pulls me aside, and he says, "Hey, kid, if something happens in that corner there," he goes, "don't overreact." And I said, "Jack, you're not going to tell me if something happens, don't overreact in a specific corner unless something is going to happen." And he said, "Correct. If something happens in that corner, don't overreact. Don't go over the rail." And I said, "Okay." So at that point, I realized something was going to happen. We go outside the ring, and now Savio, I'm out there with Savio. Savio does not know that I know. Okay, so Savio's, he's the one that's going to position himself. And then if anything happens, he's supposed to put the rope around my neck and make sure that he pulls me aside, that there's not a fight, between us and the guys. Now, those guys, I don't know if they even know that Savio's been smartened up. This was Conrad, this was dumb. This was really dumb not to smarten up the participants involved. So we go outside the ring, and Savio goes, "Wrong corner." He says it to himself. He says it out loud. So I'm like, "Well, here it comes," because I know it's coming. Then I see what's happening, and Savio comes over to me and goes, "Okay, it's all right, big guy. Let's go back inside." And we went back inside and finished out what we were doing. Well, in the meantime, Briscoe comes out, and he wants to fight Tommy Dreamer. Briscoe's furious. He comes out. He literally wants to fight Tommy Dreamer. So when Briscoe comes out, Bruce grabs him and says, "It's a work, Jerry." Jerry didn't know. He literally had come out to fight. By the time I get to the back, all the boys are there. And I remember who all was, I don't know if the Harris boys were still with us, but if they were there. The Godwins were there. Undertaker was there. Everybody was there. They're all wanting to go out there and fight. And Lanza stopped them before they made it out. Now, if Lanza doesn't stop them, they're coming out there. They're coming out there to fight. And they had the Dudleys were somewhere in the arena, I believe. I've heard Bubba tell the story later. In case a fight broke out.
Taz too.
What's that?
Taz was there too.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, but the problem was, forget about whether they can fight or not. They're outnumbered 30-6. Whatever it is. We got the whole dressing room was there, ready to come out of Gorilla and go fight these guys. This thing could have been a disaster. To not smarten up some of the boys, especially when it happens. So when it starts to happen, smarten up the guys. They can't go on. I don't even think we had the internet back then, but they certainly couldn't stooge it to anybody. This could have been an absolute disaster. And when I came back, everybody said, "Was that a work?" And I said, "Yeah, it was a work." And everybody's fine with it after that. But when they first saw it, nobody had been smartened up to it. It was really a risk that they took.
Do you think that anybody in the locker room had any idea that there was a working relationship with WWE and ECW prior to that moment?
No, I don't think so. I never heard anything about it. No, I don't think so. They kept that really kayfabed. Unless something pops up. I don't remember anything that gave that away. It was always just kind of, King had gone over there and we'd done some stuff back and forth. And, we thought they were trying to work out a relationship. We obviously knew they had talked, because, those guys aren't going to show up at our event after we find out, the guys found out it was a work. Obviously they were let in by us. And, so we knew something was working with that, but I don't think we knew that checks were going back and forth and Vince was funding ECW at that time.
As if those two things weren't notable enough on September 22nd. A year later is when the WWF changes in a major way. That's the day where Vince would approach Brett backstage in Madison Square Garden on the first ever Madison Square Garden Monday Night Raw and tell Brett, "I can't afford your contract. Go see if you can get that deal from Atlanta and go get paid." That's also the day where something that a lot of hardcore fans never thought would happen. We would see the debut of Cactus Jack on WWF television. We'd already firmly established Mankind
in my match.
And there you go. We're going to get unbelievably Cactus Jack in the WWE. But that's also the day where Vince McMahon took his very first Stone Cold Stunner. This is a pretty damn historic day in WWE history, September 22nd. And on the other channel, while all that's happening in 1997, it was Bill Goldberg's WCW television debut This is like a monumental day in wrestling history when you think about it.
That's huge. And I said it my match. Mankind debuted my first match, not Cactus. I was mistaken. Different character. Same person, different character. Yeah, we were all waiting for that stunner. It's the worst stunner in the history of the world. It's so anticlimactic. I mean, if it hadn't been Vince, I think people would have booed. It was so bad. And, Vince can take bumps. Vince is a tough guy. He loves taking big bumps. That was the worst stunner ever, and it had been built up forever. Eric was just a step ahead of us. Eric Bischoff was just a step ahead of us. We got with ECW. They'd gotten in the cruiserweights. They'd gotten all this different stuff. We were trying to bring anything in. We tried the NWA to come in with Jeff Jarrett and Cornette. I mean, Eric was just a step ahead of us everywhere. We didn't catch him until the Montreal Screwjob, and then Mr. McMahon was created, and Tyson comes in after that, and Stone Cold gets hot. I mean, Eric up at this point he was playing a different game than us, and he was light years ahead of us.
Hey, I do want to ask, when that news comes down and Vince is going to meet with Brett, allegedly Brett showed up late to the building that day. Surprise.
No, Brett was late all the time. But it wasn't a big deal. It was Brett. Nobody cared. Brett was late. He'd come flying in his rent-a-car and always be late. But he was always on last too. Nobody cared. It wasn't a big deal. It was Bret Hart.
When did you guys know, hey, Vince just told him he can't afford his contract? Does that become a whisper campaign through the locker room that day, or is it days or weeks later when everybody finds out?
No, it became evident pretty quick. I don't remember exactly the time frame. It became evident pretty quick because I remember thinking, man, brother, I can't believe I finally made it to the big time and I chose the wrong company. I thought we're losing Brett. We're done. I mean, Scott and Kevin had already created the NWO, and they were killing us in ratings. And like I say, Eric was a step ahead of us on everything at that time. And all of a sudden now we're losing Bret Hart. I thought, man, we got no chance. And Lanza's the one that pulled me aside, and he saw how worried it was. And he was sitting there with that cigarette, and he goes, kid, you see that guy right there? And he's talking about Vince, and he goes, as long as that guy's in the chair, we're going to be fine. And he goes, I've seen it all. I've seen the Warrior come and go. I've seen Hogan come and go. He said, we're going to be fine. And from that point forward, I felt pretty good about it. I was still nervous. Wasn't convinced, but it certainly made me feel a lot better. But yeah, I think a lot of the boys were pretty concerned. We didn't have huge stars. We had Shawn and Undertaker, but we didn't have just a ton of stars. Those kind of came a little bit later. And Steve was not completely on fire yet, and that changed everything when Steve got on fire. But I mean, we were getting killed, and now we're losing Brett. It seemed like another nail in the coffin for us.
And as if that wasn't enough, we should mention, as you're saying, it feels like a nail in the coffin that day when Brett finds out that Vince is not going to be able to honor his contract financially. The dark match that had been promoted through local New York City media was a battle royal, and the winner would get a title shot when WWE came back to MSG in November, 2 months later. So I know what you're thinking. Well, who won that one? Was it Sid, or was it Vader, or maybe it was The Undertaker? Who did win that? It was the Brooklyn Brawler. The Brooklyn Brawler wins the Battle Royal to earn a title shot 2 months later at MSG. You were in that match. What do you remember thinking as you get thrown out ass over tea kettle and the Brooklyn Brawler's in the ring? He won? What's going on?
We thought Vince had something up his sleeve, and I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. Brawler been around forever, and obviously Vince was going to do something with him, and I thought, I'm not sure what it is, but he must have some grandiose plan. Turns out he had no plan at all. He never even gave him the title match. Brawler was pissed about it for years, and he never got the shot. I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, we just thought Vince has got some big plan with Brawler. He's going to do something. He liked Brawler, like Steve, and Steve's a good guy. He's a good worker, and we thought he had some type of grandiose plan. I don't know what he's going to do to tell what character he's going to be coming out. Turned out he didn't have a plan at all. He put him over and then never gave him the match.
I don't know why that's funny to me, but it is just the idea of everybody knowing this is the plan and just going like, now
Vince took his picture down in Barclays too.
and just so you know, I can't believe this is real. He did get the title shot, so don't let him.
Oh, he did. I thought he never got it.
He wrestled Shawn Michaels 2 months later for the world title in Madison Square Garden, and they went 15 minutes.
Oh, I thought he didn't get it.
Well, listen, it's a better story if we say he didn't get it.
Oh,
but
I'm sorry. I thought he didn't get it. I've completely remembered wrong. I thought he didn't get it.
Well, something that we know that we can help you get. Well, actually, we got a question here from James.
Well, that just killed my whole thing. I thought Brawler didn't get it. There was something that Brawler didn't get. I'm just misremembering.
Well, he didn't win the title, if that's what you.
No, he didn't. I knew he didn't win the title, but maybe it was because we thought he had some like grandiose plan of some new gimmick or something. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Maybe I'm conflating it with him taking his picture down in Barclays. When Vince walked in, there was Brooklyn's picture up there, and I think they replaced it with The Rock. They did. They did.
It's probably a good trade. SaveWithConrad.com.
My name's Daryl. Came from Massachusetts, and I moved to Wisconsin. And there's a lot of people that might be asking, why go with Conrad? Why go with Supreme Lending? And let me tell you something, brother. I think about the credentials, the tag team partner that I'd be working with. First of all, we got the Podfather himself, Conrad. How can you go wrong with that? And then also go on to SaveWithEric.com, which, who else could have kicked Vince's ass for 83 consecutive weeks? You can't beat that duo right there. But they did bring a secret weapon, and I didn't realize this because this was not advertised. I worked closely with Larry the Axe Thompson. And let me tell you, with all the stress with moving across the country with a large family that I have, it was reassuring to know that I had the enforcer at my back, handling questions from the other side of sellers, the other side with trying to find the right prices. He took care of all that. All I had to do was keep my eye on the prize and make it there to Wisconsin. They were absolutely fantastic. They checked in on me, especially Francis, very patient with me. I don't go through this process all the time, so I trusted the experts. I was able to call them. They called me if they had questions, and it felt like it was a personal arrangement. There was even a point in which, from the seller side, they wanted something else that wasn't part of the norm. Francis straight up told me, hey, we're loyal to you. We'll do whatever you want to do, and we'll make sure that you guys are taken care of. They came through. I made it to the dream. I'm the champion of my own destiny here. They were able to help pave the way for me and my family. I couldn't be more happy with the results. I went from having less than an acre to now 20 acres worth of land. They made that dream a reality. I'm Daryl, and I'm living in Friendship, Wisconsin, in my dream home, thanks to SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
SaveWithConrad.com.